Frequently, as furries, we find ourselves faced with persons whose only view of the fandom's implicit philosophy is negative. And recently, in one of my many hours of gloomy idleness which seemingly passes as my job in recent years, I found myself pondering what a negative view of furries could actually mean. Many of us would state that our affiliation with the fandom stems from the inherent sense of kinship with animals. But, to take a negative view, mayhap this affiliation stems not from something we have, but rather something we lack. Could it be that the source of our ingrained philosophical attraction comes not from kinship with animals, but rather a lack of kinship with humanity? From our earliest ages, despite the many myriad efforts of our parents to shield us, we become exposed to the vast moral discrepancies of the world. We are taught of virtue and mercy and of kindness, of fealty, of truth and understanding and compassion, but it rapidly becomes clear to us that the world operates on a wildly different set of rules. We soon come to know man's inhumanity to man, and in a fundamental sense it sickens us. A deep part of us screams that this is not the way. Even so early in the journey of our lives, we have seen those virtues which make up all that we know to be good, embodied and practiced by a different species. And so it feels right to hold them in a higher regard, almost as symbols of the way we feel the world should be. In a memorial to his beloved dog, Lord Byron described him as one who possessed beauty without vanity, strength without insolence, courage without ferocity, all of these virtues of man without his vices. This praise, which would be unmeaning flattery if inscribed on human ashes, is but a tribute to the memory of a dog. So perhaps, philosophically speaking, such a negative perspective of furry is not such a bad thing. Both Aristotle and Plato agreed that a person of sound mind would always instinctively pursue a course of action that they perceive to be right and good. So although our course of action may be somewhat unconventional, for many of us it is the undeniable pursuit of the good and of the beautiful. Often I am questioned and even mocked for my choice to study the languages, thoughts, and customs of the ancient world. Few care to comprehend the value of the effort spent in the hours required to translate and fully understand just a few lines of poetry penned thousands of years ago. The age and obscurity of these things only heighten their appeal and allude to the vast gulfs of knowledge that have been forever lost. Beauty and truth can be the most fleeting of things. The very survival of these scraps is testament to the appeal and value they have fired in the minds of those who have encountered them down the long centuries. They are fragments of ancient beauty, all but lost to the world, kept in plain sight and yet shrouded by a pall of eon-faded knowledge. It adds an air of mystery to the world, a world that has come to see knowledge as a tyrannical and relentless conqueror. New knowledge means the death of old mysteries. But is it really so? Too often the base attitude of modern society is to assume that old ideas have no value once the new ones have been discovered. But blind faith to the ideal that new is best is as blinkered and irrational as the slavish devotion to bygone customs. New knowledge and discovery should not destroy the old, but give us a new appreciation of it. To know the true nature of the sun and the earth in no way detracts from the dramatic beauty of a sunset, but rather it opens new vistas of the mind to hold in contemplation the vast, ineffable celestial mechanics that bring it into being. The death of human imagination will be the death of all mystery in the world. Only through our own imaginings can we really reap the full benefits of new knowledge. Over the course of my time in the States, I frequently heard raised the subject of socialized healthcare, a topic typified often with the comments such as, "It can never work." This is something with which I cannot help but take issue. To those who would take up such a disparaging position on the subject, I would like to draw your attention to the systems of universal healthcare maintained by such nations as Sweden, Norway, Finland, France, Italy, England, and many, many more. For the better part of a century, these systems have operated with varying degrees of competency, but always with success. Here, in the old world, a certain implicit philosophy has existed since the fall of serfdom and the rise of the great workers' revolts of the industrial age. An often unspoken political motif, a belief that a healthy, happy, well-educated population is a desirable thing for any nation-state. Consider it to be a refined and modernized version of the ideals that naturally occur from the most primitive of social groupings. Since cave times we huddled together for warmth and protection, and instinctively felt that one way or the other we are all somehow in this together. There are those who would ask why they should pay for the health of others while they themselves are healthy. And yet these people never seem to question why they pay taxes to maintain roadways that they will never use, or to process and purify water which they will never drink. The health of a population can be considered as much a common commodity as any other. No man is an island. For a society to aspire to a healthy and well-educated population is, however indirectly, to the great benefit and prosperity of everyone within that society. As Rousseau once put it, free, but everywhere he is in chains. Only the savage are truly free. The choice to live in a society is a decision that forces us to forego any natural freedoms. By definition, to be part of society means to be governed by it. Peoples throughout time have not chosen to band together to further their individual liberties. Since time immemorial, they have chosen to forego the greater freedoms of solitude in favor of benefiting from the common efforts of a greater good. In any society, the pursuit of freedom is an abstract illusion, an easy sell of a dream of a promised land, an ultimately hollow and naive fantasy best left discarded. If you wish to improve the world, stop wasting your energies on chasing some spectral ideal of freedom, and start focusing more on how you are being ruled. Another year of 2 cents comes to an end, and quite coincidentally, so does my time here in England. As our good Griffin mentioned last time, I'll soon be joining many of you over there in the New World, and because of that, I'd just like to say, bloody hell! There's nothing quite like 10 months of paperwork and forcibly smiling in the face of relentless bureaucratic-induced stress to turn your common household frustration into a refined, seething rage! I would call the whole immigration process a work of the devil, but somehow I feel the Dark Lord would know better than to employ such mindlessly inefficient minions, possessed with all the common sense and intellectual ability of molten slag! Bastards! The bunch of degenerate arse-munching, feeble-minded fuckwits to a man that they are. They do not even try to hide the fact that every laboured step along the way is primarily there to slow things down and make money for every mercenary git with the bile-wrenching, soulless savvy to manoeuvre their desk so that they can piss their own nonsensical drivel into the already bloated torrent of pointless jargon. I really should not have expected anything better from the leading government in this ludicrous age of unreason. The same arse-handed bastards who cultivate this maelstrom of paradoxical absurdity that gets everybody believing that war is peace and greater freedom is gained through eroding civil liberties. So, you might be wondering why I put myself through all this. Well, I could say that I once described happiness in Aristotelian terms as a way of being, that happiness is a way of conducting yourself and living your life rather than simply being a mere emotion. And this is my way of putting my money where my mouth is and actually applying that philosophy. But I could also just as accurately say that this is the result of a surreal, convoluted tale involving a Dutch transsexual, a Vietnamese weasel, and a night out drinking with the editor of Astonishing Spider-Man. Either way, the result should be a damn good laugh.